world! Your sisters are here, ready, open, and as fabulous as possible. These are your sweets, Makita
and Melanie.
And you're now listening to
Girl, what?
Each episode we begin with the drink of today. Melanie, tell them what today's drink is.
Today we are drinking some rosé. This beautiful sparkling rosé is crafted from grapes selected for their vibrant, fresh character. A rich red fruit bouquet precedes a fine palette of strawberry and black currant with a long, elegant finish.
Ooh, that sounds delicious. I can't wait to have a sip. I cannot wait.
Long day, huh? Long day?
It has been a long day.
Right.
You want to know why my day has been long?
Why?
Politics.
You been politicking today?
Politicking today. Today was the last day of early vote. I mentioned that on our Facebook Live, on my personal Facebook Live page. And it has been pretty intense. I was out the door about 6:30 this morning. It's 7:30 on a Sunday. And so we hit 4 churches. We had a couple of state senators visit some of the churches. We had our candidate, Annette Taddeo, that's running for state senate. And it was busy. It gets busy when you're doing campaigns. I'd love to have like a full-on, episode in the near future talking about what it will take for a candidate to run for office and getting more involved in the political experience on the campaign side. I've always worked on campaigns mainly, but to see it a little bit more closely with a candidate that I've known Annette for about 10 years now, it's really interesting. Just the, how we've gotten to this point.
So we'll do that. How about we do that?
We'll do
after
that
election night.
Yeah, we'll do that after election night.
Maybe we'll do it like an off day.
It's maybe. Whatever.
Okay.
It'll be great. But I want to share a couple of updates, or maybe we can kind of talk about a few highlights. I wrote down some stuff, but I'm not really going to talk about these things in particular. I just want to acknowledge the bravery of our professional athletes and the stance that they've been taking, because you know what, as U.S. citizens, as folks that are as Democrats, many of us that are in the room, and I think as people that are involved in politics to a degree, I think we're still kind of licking our wounds or still pretty much in disbelief about the turn of events in this past year with this new president. And every day it's like another eye-opening, strange, and scary moment.
But we keep showing him up as citizens.
Exactly.
We keep showing him how to love, how to do it the right way, how to be unified.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we are reversing the role of what the president should be. It's almost pushing us to be closer.
Yeah, it's forcing us to take our strength back, because it's amazing to me. I had a very intense conversation with a gentleman that played football all of his life. Now he has a athletic shoe brand, and you can just see the different mindsets where we're still in a space where, people feel like if you are an athlete, that should be the only focus. If you are an actor or a singer or whatever, like that should be your only focus, and that you shouldn't be more political. I think us having the first reality star type president, leader of the free world, is making it more a lot more people are getting involved, and a lot more people are speaking up, whether it's good or bad. I think we're all having to realize that we have to be in a space where we have to stand for something.
Yes.
And it's like, what side of history do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the sidelines as the folks that want to remain with status quo and allow someone that's so divisive and so racist and just so much negative? Do we allow that behavior to continue to happen and we not have the checks and balances, or do you stand up? And I think Colin Kaepernick and others...
Or do you play in the middle like Ray Lewis?
Oh my God.
Who kneeled today?
Who kneeled today? He kneeled today because our president, took a stance against the whole league. And again, that pushes those individuals in a corner. Now you have to say something, mm-hmm. and now we truly have to see where are you? Because it's not just talking about one individual; right. It's talking about their whole industry, their livelihood.
So now are they going to let Kaepernick have a job now?
I doubt it. I don't think so. I don't think that's going to change. I don't think that it should change. I think he should continue to do the good deeds that he's been doing. I think he has earned, a lot of money. And, from the perspective of folks saying that he's no longer as talented as he was when he first entered the NFL, there's also issues with him with folks that are saying he's much better still today than a number of quarterbacks that are out there playing. So on that side of things, he should be working if that's what he chooses. However,
go ahead.
I kind of rambling and trying to complete the thought. But the thing is that what he's looking to try to do, he's a lot bigger than that.
Right.
He's taken a huge step forward to.
He's leading a movement.
He's now become a part of a movement. Mm-hmm. So I don't think right now, like, he doesn't need the money.
Right.
I think he's still wrapping his head around this is what he's done all his life, and so he wants to, if he's still physically able to do it, he wants to still be able to do it, and then he also wants to take a political stance. I think that it's gotten too big. I don't think that it makes any sense for him to go back and play.
Now, do you think, because here's the flip side, do you think the NFL took this stance today because they don't want to lose money in their industry? Or do you think it's that they truly are taking a stance against the president of the United States?
I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
We're in a movement, and we have the leader of the free world that has now made this, he's doubled down on this being his issue. You've now said that people that decide to take a knee, a peaceful protest,
are SOBs,
and that they should not be working.
But yet, no names are called about the Charlottesville.
Yes, exactly. That's the argument. That's the issue. But again, NFL has been branded as the American pastime. This is this is America's sport. And so they don't want politics to interrupt. They don't want, entertainment controversies to interrupt. It's become this brand. But at the end of the day, like, when you look at the dynamics, which people are talking about all the time, like, who are the owners in the NFL and who are the workers in the NFL? Who's really making money? And then who's really making money? And so when you have those true statistics and numbers, and you see the racial divides, and we don't want to continue to harp on race, but it's evident that there's still layers in the professional sports world where we still haven't been able to break through that glass ceiling, and becomes problematic. It doesn't matter if one athlete is making, over the course of their career, $180 million. When you have owners that are billionaires or close to billionaires, and
they're starting to compare them to like slave drivers.
Exactly. And now when you see all these statistics with STD and the CTE.
She didn't mean that.
I didn't mean that.
Could be that too, but anyway. CTE.
And concussions and, even though, the true research won't be complete on that for a long time, but the things that are starting to come out, you start to realize that, these men are getting into these professions where, the career is over by like 35 for a lot of them. By before they even hit 30 for a number of them, and for only a few years after that down the line, they're either living on they've lost all their money, they spent it all, they lived this huge life thinking that this was going to be something. It's just so many risks that these players are still taking, and it kind of looks like slavery.
Yeah.
It kind of has the, the looks of
slavery.
Slavery.
I know you're trying to find a nice word, but there's really no nice word for it.
There's no nice word for it.
So I posted this morning, actually. I started Bible study last Wednesday.
Good.
And the book we are focusing on talks about being able to love beyond differences, beyond spiritual differences. Mm-hmm. So like, for instance, and this is the example I used in my post, I'm really trying to love Donald Trump despite, if I can love, listen, this is a stretch.
Okay.
If I can love Donald Trump, I can love anybody.
Woo!
Because the book basically discusses the fact that, we all are believers. He's a believer in Jesus Christ, regardless of, what his opinions and how he behaves, and he is a believer.
3 a.m. tweets.
Yes, he is a believer in Jesus Christ. So this book stretches your heart and mind in every way. The intent is to get to the point where you can love beyond. And because God is love at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, God has designed a journey and a purpose for each one of us. And things happen at His time.
Yeah.
And at His will. So rather than, I'm going to start, and I've been sporadically, but I'm really going to start to pray for this man. And pray that God changes his heart. Can you pray with me?
Yeah, I'll work on it. But how old is he? I'm just saying,
As a believer, we have to try.
Okay, so we will try.
If you can see her face right now,
we will pray for you, President Trump.
We're gonna pray for him.
We're gonna pray for him,
and we're gonna try to love him regardless.
We're gonna pray for you, Donald Trump. Okay, so we have veered left completely. So let's get back to the topic. The topic that we wanted to discuss was, how do we push through? Okay. You know what? It may actually be fitting.
It is fitting.
How do you push through?
How do you love him?
How do you love him? How do you push through? Donald Trump, boy, you are a hard pill to swallow. And right. So I am trying to work on pushing.
It begins with us.
Okay.
We have somebody in the audience that's not going to be on the show, but she just reminded us. It begins with us.
It does.
That's why I'm trying. That's why, listen, I think every day should be an opportunity for growth. No matter how old you are.
Yes.
We should be trying to push ourselves and push our hearts. Makita McCoon. So we're going to love the lovely 45, okay? We're going to love them. We're going to work on it. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Audience, we're going to love the lovely 45, because the love can turn it all around.
As I sip on this drink is so delicious. So pushing through. What when you thought Melanie is the one that wanted to discuss this subject this evening, and I am. Oh, this is. We're passing the drink. We're pouring. Sorry.
Are you okay?
I'm
you
fine.
Still think about loving?
I'm trying to. Yes,
we gonna love him.
We are. We are gonna love him.
We gonna pray. Y'all put him in your prayers every night, and pray for him and his family and his constituents. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah. So we're in some tough times.
We're in tough times.
Yeah. So what this man in office is making life tough, or maybe he's just people think like this. Like
maybe this is what we need to refocus.
So how do we do that?
You might ask.
Yes.
Well, it first begins with self-reflection. Mm-hmm. That's where it begins. With self-reflection. And you have to have some source of spiritual, some spiritual source to tap in and shape you and teach you when you're going through it. Not drugs, not alcohol, not, any other thing that a lot of people go to when they're going through tough times. In order to get through the tough times and never repeat the tough times, you have to deal with them and face them and do some self-reflecting.
I have a story. This was about maybe a little over 10 years ago. I was at a crossroads. I kind of was in the process of transitioning from working in the entertainment industry to trying to figure out and navigate my way in politics, whatever politics looked like. I didn't have any formal education. I just had relationships. I know people and, I just had relationships and an idea. And in the midst of this period, I was homeless. I was living out a vehicle for probably a good 8 months or so. I could have, at the time, I could have gotten an apartment. I realized, though, some of the things that I needed to ensure and take care of at the time. I was not unemployed, but my employment wasn't going to provide the lifestyle that I was brought up and accustomed to. And I had, I was helping support a family, a relative, and making sure that I didn't lose my storage unit, and I was trying to make sure I can do some form of upkeep. And so it could have been potentially a very dark time that I could have still been trying to get out of today. But I looked at that in the midst of dealing with that and acknowledged that where I was at that very moment was temporary. Mm-hmm. I found myself working out more. I was going to the gym, in most cases to actually shower and go to work. And I would go back and shower in the evening, work out, shower, and just, you kind of, when you're put in those very, very tough, extreme situations, you start to think about where do you see yourself? having a good understanding of this is not going to be my final stop and this is going to be a part of my big story. Mm-hmm. And I was actually going to church every Sunday, despite not really having a place to stay. Sometimes I would, go to a hotel and treat myself to feel, again, I was mentally removing myself from the actual situation that I was in. And I find it so interesting and funny all the time when I see these different things. And, I probably didn't have to live that way. I probably could have just gotten a little apartment in the hood. That was probably the only thing that I can afford. But I was like, that's not where I saw myself. I didn't want to continue to box myself in something tighter because, what I see today is that a lot of us are living in a rat race.
Yeah.
The cost of living is so high. The price of getting a good education and coming out with all of this debt, and now you have all of these things that you have to pay for and you're doing all of this so that you can get to the next level, but you're still not able to get to the next level because you put yourself in all of this debt. And it's at the end of the day, I know how blessed I am, and I know God is real, mm-hmm. and I know that when you remove the negative thought process of whatever situation exactly. you're in, you can overcome anything.
Which kind of goes along with, I found an article. I didn't write down who wrote the article because I didn't take all the points from the article, but I kind of went through it so I could keep us focused.
Yes.
So some of the things in the article, when it talked about things to do when you are going through a tough time, you touched on. Stop assuming the worst. So when you say focus on where you're going, mm-hmm. and don't focus on what your situation. I think that's a big one. Another one they had was challenge your beliefs. I think a lot of times when we go through tough times, it makes you refocus. And if you are a believer in Jesus Christ or God, you are forced almost to challenge God, mm-hmm. or to see what really the Word of God says and rely on the Word of God and its promises, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Turn inward, which is what you did. You and these are things you should do other than going partying or those temporary fixes, doing drugs, being promiscuous, drinking. Like those are just temporary solutions. Because when it's all said and done, the problem is still going to be there. And turning inwards and looking at yourself, especially when you're in situations that continue to happen.
Yeah.
That means there's something inside that we need to fix. Letting go, I guess, of whatever, if it was a hurtful situation or something happened to you way in your past, that you got to be willing to let it go in order for God to open up what He has for you in the future. What else did they say? Say yes to your desires and passions, which goes along with you saying you knew where you wanted to be. You knew what you wanted to do. And I found, even, when I went through my mom passing, that was difficult for me. And when she was sick, it probably was even harder. And at that time, it made me focus to say, I don't want to leave here like a lot of people who had passions or desires and they never pursued it. So that's when I started my interior decorating business. When you go through stuff, it kind of makes you reflect and think about, if I leave here tomorrow, what are things that I know in my gut I want to do, but every day I just keep living day to day, and I never tap into those things. So I think that's important.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, when you're dealing with something that's tough, a death or loss of job or loss of a relationship, you know, life is about choices. It's how do you deal when something bad happens? Mm-hmm. How do you, also how do you praise God, or how does how do you look at your life, whatever it is that you study, or wherever your spirit takes you. Maybe your belief is not in Jesus Christ, maybe it's on something else, but how do you praise that in the dark times along with the good times? Again,
notice she said praise, not just pray, because a lot of people have a tendency to pray when they're going through the bad times. Mm-hmm. But then when the good times come, they don't pray anymore. She said praise, meaning praise, celebrate, even when you're going through.
I had to look at, everyone always assumes I'm and I am for like 99% of the time. I'm like happy-go-lucky. I always have, a positive spirit and, attitude. But there is definitely to that 1% of the time where I don't. Which is okay. And I think, and I almost say that may not even be completely accurate. I may not be as happy as I appear to be. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you're really in true destitute or solemn situations, that's when you have to internally remember who you are. Mm-hmm. Acknowledge that this is something that's temporary, and push forward. I mean, look, suicide rates are going up. People are looking at these situations and are just and don't know how to handle it. Look at the wealthy. Look at someone that has been fortunate all their life, and all of a sudden they've lost their fortune due to some unfortunate circumstance, and then they resort to killing themselves. Sometimes killing themselves and others.
Let me just say, just to piggyback on what you said, because I think it's important. And especially with the social media era, people have a tendency, like you said, you want to always be positive and positive and happy and positive. But sometimes that could be to your detriment if you're going through something. Sometimes it's okay to cry. It's okay to be real with yourself and others, and not put on this facade like you're so happy. Because I believe that's why a lot of these young kids and young adults and people in general are resorting to suicide. Because when something happens, they don't know how to accept that, you know what, I'm going through something, but I know I'm going to get out of it. But right now I just want to cry. You know what I mean? Like
it's one of those challenges that I don't think the African American community understands how to deal with. I think the onset of social media has made it where we see things in this false reality. Yes. It's not real. I mean, I can tell you some of my happy and positive posts are not always really happy, and like it's like motivating yourself. I do some of the things to motivate myself, to draw myself out of certain funks. Listen, some of the people that I've dated, or like my family and some of my close friends, like when I am in my funks, they know it. Or they see it, or they sense it. I still don't. It still becomes very difficult to get out of how everyone always perceives me to be. But trust and believe. I'm slowly trying to rectify. Like, look, I'm not having a good day, and this is tough. And sometimes I may lash out or be, maybe a little slightly hostile, as whatever. But, it's good to, again, dealing with the situation that you're dealing with. It's good to go through that. It's good. Everything can't be pleasant and roses and like great all the time. It would be wonderful, but that's just not life and it's not reality.
Exactly.
And now we just have to we have to understand that everyone goes through things. Everyone is going through things. I ran into a classmate of mine, great career. He was married to his high school sweetheart. And as far as I knew, they were living happily ever after. Everything was all good. I went and I saw him because we had an actual business situation. And I was like, hey, in my mind, how's the wife? Oh, we're not together. We haven't been together for years. They're living but they've come together to raise their children because, it was just such a mature situation. And at the end of the day, it was like a relationship that was no more, which again, they went through some struggles. They're now at a point where they are cohesively working and dealing with each other. But I just think about so many times that, folks break up and, you see it on the news, when someone doesn't deal with the situation well and they want to cause harm to not just themselves but to others. Again, it's just a reiterance of you never know what folks are going through.
Everybody going through something.
And everyone is going through something. And it's just, how do you praise him and acknowledge that this is something that's just temporary?
And then choose your circle wisely.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're going through stuff, you want to make sure you have people in your corner or family in your corner that actually want you to win. Because sometimes you can have people in your circle and they pretend they want you to win, but they also are grinning and happy when they see that your life isn't as perfect as they thought. So you have to be careful. You have to be prayerful. You have to ask God when you're going through these things. And it's seasons. Everybody has their season.
Mm-hmm.
Like I might be going through something now and Makita might not be going through it. But then next week or the week after, it switched.
It may switch.
And it's a part of life. And I just think it's very important that people understand, especially young people and parents, talk to your kids. Because we were having this conversation.
Don't act like your kids are your friends. Talk to, I don't know. We need to work on our dialogue. We need to work on how do we strike that back. Neither one of us have kids.
But I was a kid.
I was a kid.
I mean,
I know how when I was dealing with things growing up and how there wasn't that support there. And I think that's why I kind of internalize a lot of stuff. Like I don't, if I have a bad day, I don't share my bad day with people because I remember not really being acknowledged when I was young and wanting to, write a note to my mother and how upset I was about something. And my mom would be like, say some kind of foul thing in patois and, dismiss me. And I was like, well, what is the point? Again, I'm 40.
And then on the reverse, I grew up where things were happening, but I didn't know things were happening. So it's like you got to find, I think it's important in this day and age, especially with the kids being exposed to so much more than we were, to give them to have talks with them about reality. I'm not saying put them all in your business, but tell them that, life is not just about perfection and fast cars and nice clothes and, all this stuff you see on the internet and TV, and they think that's reality. And, celebrities, they don't just make it overnight.
Listen,
and a lot of them,
a lot of them don't make it.
It's not what it is. Yes.
And a lot of them don't make it.
Things happen over time. I think it's important that you tell your children or any of us, any children that we encounter, that you have to work hard. And when you work hard, the longer you live, the more things are going to happen where you got to deal with hardships.
Yeah.
And you could be up today and down tomorrow. You just got to know how to bounce back.
A dear friend always says to me, patience.
Yeah.
Just be patient. And it's hard.
Because we want to do God's work.
We want to do God's work. We want things to happen at a different pace than it's really happening. And it's hard. It's hard to exert patience. But sometimes that's what you have to do. Sometimes you have to have that long-term goal and just remember that every day you have to work on that long-term goal, but deal with, how that looks on a day-to-day.
And then, too, it helps to try to keep God, whatever your God is, in your life every day so that you could tap in and make sure you're following his course. Because when we don't have that, sometimes we follow our own course, and then that's not really the course God wanted, and God bring you right back to the starting point. So I think it helps. I'm not saying you still won't have trials and tribulations, but
you will.
I think it helps when you kind of tap in and ask God, okay, God, what is your will for me today? Where am I? Where do you want me to be? What do you want me to be doing? And just something as simple as that. Then that way, he has his way of letting you know he's there. Whether it's he'll send a person to you to talk to you about something that you were thinking about or hurting about. If you keep him in it, it kind of helps you know. Like, I know it happens to me periodically, and I'm like, okay, it's almost like a good feeling. Like, okay, I know God is. I know you're in my step. Mm-hmm. I'm not out here by myself.
Yeah.
So, but if you never check in, you are out there by yourself and just hoping that you're doing what he wants you to do.
Yeah.
So, hardships.
We're all going to go through it.
Yeah.
You think Oprah didn't go through some hardships? Yes. You think, you don't think that President Trump hasn't constantly had to deal with hardships? That's why he reacts and overreacts and
that's why we
does
love him.
missteps, and that's why
we have to love him.
I'm learning, and I'm gonna work on that. But at the end of the day,
we got another note from the audience. the anonymous audience.
We have
faith nor fear.
Oh,
yes, faith nor fear.
Yeah.
Leaps.
A good. Yeah, I had to take a lot of leaps of faith to go into a sphere that I was unfamiliar with.
You gotta stretch yourself.
The only thing that I saw growing up was, two Jamaican parents, that one was a truck driver, one was a housewife, and we surrounded ourselves with, Jamaica is such a small island. Everyone kind of all knows some of everyone. It was just an idea. I want to work in the entertainment industry. How do I do that? But again, goals and opportunities, it starts with an idea, with I want to do this. So how do you do it? There's a series of things that you actually have to systematically do, and then there's faith, the belief that you can do that. And one day I ran into someone that I knew did something in entertainment, and I did that leap. And
we getting more anonymous notes.
Nothing. Yes, we're down to our last.
Yeah,
we have 5 minutes left.
Wait, we got another anonymous note.
Tip.
God is our source. There are no limits in God. Amen to that.
Amen.
God never leaves you. But we sometimes leave God. Yep. That's the truth.
Amen.
And that's why we're going to love the lovely 45. And we're going to pray that God molds his heart. Because God has a way.
Mm-hmm.
He has a way.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
On his deathbed. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Let me reread one of our what do we call it? Our anonymous.
We have anonymous.
Anonymous audience members. God is our source. There are no limits in God. God never leaves you, but we sometimes leave God. I mean, that's such
profound.
That's a big statement right there. And
are we ready? Freddie?
I think
are you ready, Freddie? That's what I say to my kids. And they say, yes, I'm ready, Freddie.
How is school going?
Well, it was a blessing. It was just what the doctor ordered. Aww. I was a little, but I knew, I know how God works. He does his thing when you not really expecting it. But no, kindergarten is good for me right now.
Oh, the babies.
I don't have stress.
The babies.
They get on my nerves a little bit, but they're so cute.
They are. They are so cute.
They just say my name too much. That's the only thing.
Mission Hosta?
Yes.
I love it.
Then when they can't say it, they say, the teacher.
Teacher. I love it. I just want to sit in your class one day and just see how it. I will. After the election, I'm gonna have some free time.
They'd love to have you. They'll entertain you.
I can't wait. So, are
you ready?
I think we're ready.
No comments. No comment. No wine glass.
Yeah. No comment. No wine. No, we had two comments. We had a couple of comments last week, so that's cool.
Next week, we talking about that video next week.
Which video?
Northwestern Senior High. We talking about these little girls, man. That's what we talking about next week.
Oh, goodness.
That was a mess. But anyway.
So, as we like to end our show, we want to encourage you guys to subscribe, like, share. This is Girl What.
Tell your neighbor, tell your friend, tell your mama, tell your daddy, tell your auntie.
We will be available immediately after this live podcast. We will be up on iHeartRadio, Google Play, iTunes. Melanie, do you want to put in our
Girl What? GURL What? GURL What? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Makita McClune.
We should do Snapchat.
Melshin. We do need a Snapchat.
We need a Snapchat.
I thought about that today. Okay.
I need a tutor. I need a tech tutor because I suck. I suck. Melanie is such. Listen, let me just acknowledge my co-host while we got a little bit of time. I love you.
Love you too, boo. We balance each other.
Yes, we balance each other, but she's the one that's doing all of the major work. The podcast, just setting up Spreaker, the stuff that you see popping up on social media, it's all her. I am just trying to figure out how to copy and paste. Okay?
That's okay. I just need you to talk. You have the vernacular that I don't.
Okay.
We balance each other. Okay. Colossians 1:16. All things have been created through him and for him.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening. You have now been listening to Girl
What?